Welcome back to Vision Voices podcast. Today I'm joined by Lillian Pearson. We spoke a few years ago with Lillian, and the point of our conversation was mainly about how to build your influence and how to build your audience online. Back then, it was slightly ahead of the curve for the B2B world. This time we're talking about AI and how AI is actually changing the way we grow, develop, and the way we automate our business on a daily basis. Me and Lillian are going to go over what to teach and what to skip in terms of adopting AI. We're going to talk about AI in marketing and what functions would probably benefit with AI in the first place. We're going to talk about different AI tools and whether to develop your own tools or use what is already existing in the market, or maybe hire someone who can develop tools for you. So let's dive in. Lillian, hi, and it is my pleasure to reconnect with you again after approximately, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show again, Lara.
Your title on LinkedIn nowadays says a fractional CMO. Can you please elaborate? 'Cause it's not very often we can come across a title like that.
The way that I work with clients, sometimes I will do a project with them where we'll just build out a marketing strategy depending on what their goals are. And then in other cases, I come in as an advisor. Sometimes I'm a growth partner. So I'm building the strategy and then helping oversee the execution on more of an advisory basis. And then lastly, my highest level of service is as a fractional CMO, where I come in and lead teams for startups, say like 2 days a week or something like that, where I'm working with them in an executive capacity, but not on a full-time basis.
How did you come up to the fact that you actually have to lead the marketing function, not anything else?
Well, actually, that's a great question. So what happened was in 2022, I got hired as a SaaS CMO. And up till then, so I've got 20 years of experience in marketing, and I'd been working as an advisor for, I guess it had been almost 10 years. Then I'd been working as a growth advisor, but not as like a fractional executive. And so I got hired as a full-time contract to be the CMO. And then as you may or may not know, in the technology world, marketing is kind of a bad word. So I was really actually shocked. I was thinking, this is what I've been doing all along, but I just didn't like the idea of associating that with the label marketing. But then when I actually was in this role and leading teams and building strategies and overseeing the execution, I realized that's actually what I was born for. So so since then I've been working. I transitioned to a fractional practice, which makes more sense given the fact that I have 2 kids now. But I support tech startups, which I've always been in technology and engineering. I am an engineer by licensure. And so I think the benefit there is that not only can I build foundational like AI agents and workflows, I can do a lot of like the tech, any sort of technical thing that would be needed as like a foundational layer, but also for marketing. But also I really am able to understand the product and also the consumer in order to produce messaging that is very accurate and relevant. And so that's kind of how it all fits together.
I wanted to start the actual dive into the AI topic from a very sort of open question to you. So if you were talking to small to medium businesses that are based or growing here in Dubai, and you were recommending them to get the very first AI win, something that you would implement and get the first wins through AI, what function would that be? And would that be only one function, or would that be like the whole system that you would set it up?
It's a great question. So I can't really speak very well in terms of, because say retail, it's just like what you would use in marketing generally is like, okay, what's the industry? So is it a tech startup? Is it retail? Is it
Let's be more specific. We've got a huge, let's say, fintech community here in Dubai. It means we've got plenty of fintech solutions that are developing, and that are closing lots of gaps in their customer needs here in the UAE market. We've got, as you mentioned, a big retail community. We've got plenty of other niches, like, for example, technology niche that is not related to fintechs, but probably to customer experience, let's say, logistics. So if you pick any that I've just named.
well, just off the top of my head, I think for any business, actually, I'm working on a new product. I'm still validating the idea, but it's for AI search, being found and discovered within AI search, so that you can get that trusted traffic from LLMs, and that's relevant for any industry, and it is something that businesses really should be on top of now, especially with OpenAI now building payment protocols directly into the platform. So that would be something I would pretty much recommend all businesses take action on right away. And then in terms of other functions, of course, content is really important, and I could go into all sorts of details about that. But
that's a great topic to cover, because I think as much as we understand, like I'm a person who works in the content creation business, right, in the content creation industry, and I do understand that this is the first. I mean, the first thing that we jump on is whatever you can make faster with AI, you do that, right? And that's what we started doing with the very, very first tools. But I'm happy to hear from the expert. So if we're talking about the business function, and you've just mentioned that one, but content is kind of a marketing function. So would you recommend, or would you actually, if you were a small to medium business, would you jump on the content automation process in the first, let's say, few months, if you wanted to take an advantage?
That's a low-hanging fruit, so yes, but with the caveat that like it has to be executed really well, and that there is reputation for harm if not executed well. And also there's ways to do this that you're going to get a lot better output from technologies than so there's architectures that I found work really well, and it takes some testing and all of that. But what I would say generally is any activity, any type of activity within marketing is fair game. So for all people within a company, they really need to be looking at their everyday processes. And I would recommend all companies look at the processes that are being repeated on a regular basis. What are the outcomes? Like what are the KPIs around those processes? And then start really thinking about is it practical or achievable to automate this process, or at least in part, and achieve those KPIs, or even exceed the results that you're currently targeting, simply by bringing in AI and automation to support with the workload. So without even going into detail about content, because that's very broad actually, it's like it's just a kind of a categorical analysis of all processes, and content is a low-hanging fruit, of course. So yeah, that's.
But it has to be executed right. And I mean, content is probably the whole, separate segment that needs to be dedicated to discussing content workflows only. So I wanted to not to clarify, but to dig a little bit deeper into, do you find that nowadays, I mean, so the reason that we need to sort of make an analysis of all the processes and see what the KPIs are around is because some of the processes still, even if they're repeatable, is it still more sort of cost effective to keep it under the responsibility of human employees rather than to automate them with the AI technologies, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are definitely processes that the AI is not, it's not far enough along to delegate over, and they need to be done by humans, and that's okay. In that case, you can at least have point tools to support the workflow. So it's all mostly done by human, but they can still be using tools to get better results faster along the way. But yeah, it's really been quick. I think it's been like a year since we've had automation tools that are easy enough to use to build agents and to really automate entire workflows with AI. So it's moving really quickly. And even a year ago, I would be like, it's not really there. And what I've seen a lot is, what I've seen with teams is there's a kind of a feasibility problem if you're just using LLMs or GPTs in content, because, okay, you need to do prompting, right? And if you're just using GPTs, it's like, how many different deep GPTs are you using? Like, I saw someone, they came to me and they were like, okay, I'm going to use 12 different GPTs to execute this manually and like plug the result one into the result the other. And so that becomes, for say, if you're working with a more junior level team, they can't execute that very well, if at all, because one, you have to know how to use the AI well enough, and two, you have to be able to evaluate the outputs and see the markers of, know the context of what is needed and along the full spectrum. And what I found with junior level marketers is that if you're just trying to use GPTs and tell them to prompt it, it's just like not super feasible. And then also, even if when they get through, then they don't really understand if the output is right. And along the way, and so it's what I've turned to is actually building entire systems where I will codify my expertise into each of the nodes, so that it doesn't require a human to come in and know what to tell and it doesn't require them to go and prompt, and because it's just creating more room for error and stuff like that.
You gave a great example, which I think is the reality of many, many companies and many, many marketers. 12 different customized GPTs, right? And you were mentioning it's the next level when they're plugged into each other and is sort of trying to build a system where human involvement is not required. But at the same time, you mentioned that it's not something that is going to work for, let's say, for all the marketing teams, or for the marketing teams where the skill of understanding and working with AI is still probably not at the level of, enough expertise or understanding of how it works. You know what I mean? And then you're now elaborating, giving a specific example on what it means to understand what kind of skills, what kind of knowledge we need to have as marketers to be able to work with a system like that.
Okay, so so back to that example, because I think that, thank you for recapping. And so this is real life. This is just real life. What I've seen. So you even give the prompt to the person who's executing, and then they throw it into a GPT that's got all of the brand and positioning strategy already uploaded into it. So it should be great, right? Because the GPT knows about the brand, it knows everything it needs to know, and you gave it a prompt to write this leadership and storytelling piece. So it outputs its deliverable, and then they hand it over and they're like, it's generic. This is generic. This isn't going to work. This is just like, it could be any other brand. There's no differentiation. And so that's like, okay, so that's a problem where as a leader, you're going to have to know that what you're trying to do with AI, the architecture, it won't work, because you need more context and you need to have a control of when context is accessed and have control that it is being read all the way through. GPTs are very like surface level and they won't do a good job. So it isn't the approach, it's the execution. So, but the best way I found to do this is actually to build an agent that walks through step by step, and like each piece of the brand and positioning strategy and each case study, and like literally reads everything about the brand and by hand picks out the case study that's appropriate, because there's many elements in this piece that make it effective. And you can't have like a generic high level summary. It is generic, but it's not because the AI marketing strategy is wrong. It's the way it's executed that matters.
So, and to be able to improve on the execution, who do you think should own the AI strategy within organization, within small and medium business? Is it a technical person, a technology lead, or is it more of a function lead or a strategy lead overall? So what do you think? What's your perspective on that?
I don't think, as someone, because I did consulting, like I've built data science strategies I've supported even Saudi Aramco in building a data science strategy, right? So I have a lot of experience in this. And I used to say like, okay, the ultimate vision is a unified, integrated strategy that's like top down, and you can basically connect all of the projects within it to a unified strategy. But I would not recommend that for AI, because the way that it is used, it needs to be used on every level. It's almost molecular, and there's no way you're going to have an overarching strategy that is going to be able to integrate all of that in a way that's in any sort of meaningful way. And so you could have rules, you could have governance about what's allowed and what's not allowed, but trying to integrate all the different ways that AI can drive revenue gains and across a company is pretty, I think, impossible, considering all of the types of AI that are out there and the ways they're being used and how widely it should be adopted.
So it's basically the AI adoption should go into function. So meaning, if we're talking about marketing, the AI, the vibe coding sort of, or vibe AI agent development has to happen within the marketing department. Same about, let's say, logistics, same about different other business functions that need to be automated. Am I right to understand?
I would do that. I would just have it within the unit and no overarching integrated strategy, because I don't think it's possible.
You mentioned something really interesting for me. So you mentioned that with AI, you actually, how to say that, not to humiliate all the technical people, you actually do not need to be a technology savvy anymore. Am I right to get? I mean, you obviously need to love technology. You need to love things like AI, but you don't need to be an actual, let's say, coder to be able to adopt AI tools into your functions.
So that is one thing that I think that what we're seeing is that it's a little tricky. So you definitely don't need to be a programmer in most cases, and you can build the applications you need or the automations you need in a no-code environment. But what I have found is that when trying to share, like, say this MCP content system, and right now it has to be run on my desktop because it's not supported in a cloud environment. And so when I go to hand it off to a client, I put together the videos of how the user needs to set this up on their computer, and they need to change a config file to basically integrate N8N into Claude and Airtable. And it's a very simple, you would just like, I can say, click this, click this, click this, copy and paste. You have to go here. You have to integrate an API. So you have to be able to integrate APIs and use webhooks, and you can use AI to do that. But when I'm going to hand it off to a team member who's totally non-technical, then I understand there's still going to be it's going to be okay for like a point in case, like with a client, we can get that handled for them. But at scale, like, would I sell this as I saw a friend of mine sold an MCP, custom MCP running on Claude as a product, and it didn't go anywhere. And it wasn't because it was great. It was because just even clicking the click here, copy this, look here, copy that code, put it here. It was too much. It was overwhelming. Even when I did it, I was kind of like, just feels overwhelming, and I know what I'm doing. So there's an adoption issue that we have yet to overcome at scale. So you know what I'm saying? It's an obstacle.
Yeah, I get it. So that's why. So my question was, okay, maybe for the, for automating some of the pieces of the function, some of the areas of the function, it will work for some time. But if you look at the bigger organizations, let's say, where the responsibility has got probably higher stakes. That's probably where you really need to understand that it's just a different type of skills that are required to adopt it in the right way. So am I right to understand it this way?
It's not too much. So thinking about a woman that I know who was the director of analytics at a big marketing consultancy, right? She could do all of the technology stuff related to marketing, most of it, or she would know when to call in the developer for just teeny bits. And it's like something like that. You would need someone who's a marketer, but they're pretty tech savvy and able to like do most of the work themselves and know when to call in an actual developer when needed, because you can't even, I have to hire developers. Some things I'll use ChatGPT to if I get in a technical bind with like something on my website for that, like I can fix a lot of things. But then when it gets into like adjusting the code of the website and the backend, I'm gonna hire an expert, because I'm not a developer, and
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I could just break it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just basically trying all the solutions that ChatGPT says. So I'm not a developer. So just give it to a developer and let them do it, But you should be able to take it pretty far. Like, this person should be able to like take it, know where that limit is, and be able to do whatever technical stuff is required in order to get most of it, to get 90% of the requirements done.
If you were to come up with a 4 to 6 weeks AI course for small to medium businesses, what would that course cover and what it wouldn't cover for the moment?
Oh gosh. Okay, so it would definitely cover assessing the processes. So just basic business consulting. So process analysis, to look for processes that are easy to automate and that will result in big returns. First step. And then next step would be, if I was teaching the course, it would be, I think the best thing is just to get people's hands dirty, because it's very hard to explain the differences between these technologies. We have like the vibe coding, like the windsurf and cursor and all this. Then you have the automation, N8N. Then you have LLMs. Then I mean, there are so many different types of AI technologies. So just to get them, I would probably do in the middle of the course, like hands-on experience with each category to help them
Mm-hmm.
understand the benefits and how they would
Mm-hmm.
plug into one another, because they plug into one another, but you have to understand the widgets, the category. And um, then what I would do is have the person pick one of the functions, one of the processes
Mm-hmm.
that they identified, and actually try to test to build a solution to automate it. And maybe that's only one category of tool required, or maybe it's five categories of, or five different types of tools in different categories. But like, just to get a first stab at automating the process using AI. And then I would kind of probably at the end critique each project and try and help and offer suggestions to make it even better and answer any questions about why. Because sometimes you build a system and it, like I was saying, it doesn't work the way that it could. It could if it was designed differently. So kind of trying to troubleshoot that. That's, I think, what I would do.
So what you would exclude from the course for the moment? So basically the question is, what wouldn't you teach in terms of AI nowadays? Meaning like it will be outdated in a year, let's say.
Hmm. Um, Gosh, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Is for things that won't matter in a year, because I can't think of anything.
I am just thinking about the amount of AI courses that are being plugged into, you know, a lot of systems nowadays, and my only and it's developing very fast. I mean, you asked me several months ago. I didn't even know that I would be developing my own custom GPTs for different functions, right? And it's like it's my reality now, and the amount of different solutions are only increasing, and they're adding. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to prioritize? Should I learn how to build agents? Should I rather go into how to generate, the visual and the creatives with the help of AI, and dedicate my time to that, or should I rather, go into my operations? And out of all this, there's definitely a few things that I need to prioritize to be able to prioritize something that is more important for me. And it's a question about perspective. So what wouldn't you, what is overhyped? I mean, we're all probably acting from the position that AI is going to replace our jobs, right? And that is the initial point. That's what we're trying to capture as much as possible. But do we really need to jump on everything and anything at the moment, or do we need to?
Wouldn't do that, and I hadn't actually. I sat back and let a lot of things go on and didn't do anything about it. But that was didn't like go and learn it. But that was because I didn't need to. So basically that was it. So I didn't have something I needed to, I didn't have a reason to do that. So I'm not going to go chasing everything and anything, because honestly, you can't drink the ocean. So there's a lot of people that are just like obsessed and they just test everything. They're early adopters and tinkerers and they just want to test everything. And I am not one of them. So I do know how to build, AI twins and make AI twins talk and build agents and build the workflows. But all of that is rooted out of necessity. So all of it is rooted out of deliverables, things I needed to get out of the door, and me really just trying to make this more efficient. Because I only really work 30 hours a week. 20, like if I can actually get it down less than that, then I would. So I want to be efficient, and that is the only reason that I'm using all these tools. And it just so happens that there's a huge demand. And so if you can build it, like there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to do that. So it's then now turned into more things for me, but that's the root of it.
How difficult it is to build a digital twin? Because so far I've heard the opinions that it's quite difficult, and it's still quite not cost efficient, because it's still more, as I said, it's still more cost efficient to record my own video than to build a digital twin who would be talking as me. So this is, yeah.
Okay, so there's a few ways. So like images, especially with Nano Banana, you can get them very good. Videos, I have tested endlessly. You might have seen some of my tests. It's not there. So it looks robotic, and people do not really care if the content is great. That's what I've seen. But also YouTube is deprioritizing. They're not going to monetize channels with AI content that is digital twin talking. So I think that's going to be across the board on all social networks, that they're not going to monetize these. They have to find a way to penalize it. And right now, the technology just isn't there. The easiest way to get something that is good, this is the best you can do. And it's pretty darn good, but it's just not long enough. You can do a 30. So say I take a video of myself talking here, you and I, 30 seconds, right? And my mouth is moving the whole time. And then what I can do is I can create an audio file of me talking for 30 seconds. And then I can do lip sync using Pixaverse. Pixaverse has got a really good lip syncing tool. And it actually will take the audio and it will take the expressions from your face when you're talking, and it will like match them somehow, and it changes the cadence of your talking so that it's your voice, and it very closely, I mean, it looks like a person talking. For me, the lips are a little bit looking like not exactly natural, but pretty darn, my husband couldn't tell the difference actually, but it's only 30 seconds. So then you have to string together, if you want a 90-second video, you have to do that 3 times. And then it's just kind of like, that's exactly what you're saying. So in this case, it's so much easier. I spent a lot of time messing with this. It's so much easier just to open this thing and record than to try and avoid the camera. And it's just, I'm convinced that it's not the way to go right now.
Is it only right now, or there will be a way? But I mean, you mentioned something really critical here. You mentioned that YouTube probably will deprioritize the AI-generated content on their platform, which means they still encourage people to create the authentic human videos. And that's a very critical I think for me, at least, as a content creator and as a person who works in the content industry, it's a critical point, and it's a critical reason to actually double down on the way we shape the narratives, the way we come up with the high quality content, the way we talk to the guests, etc. So for me, it's a critical point, and I want the audience to hear this now as well. That as much as we want AI to replace or to automate many things, that probably, it's valuable for me to hear that it's not there yet. You know what I mean?
It's not there yet, and I just don't think it will be. So what I think, there's just going to be 2 tiers of content out there. There's going to be AI content that's maybe done very, very well. And then there's going to be real content. But a team member I'm working with, a channel specialist on LinkedIn, because my captions are really, really good because they're baked from my brand. They're baked from my brand and positioning strategy, my case studies. I mean, the captions come out of the box just like better than anyone that's ever worked for me would write, including myself. Okay, great. So, but she's like, yes, but people are going to not think that's a real person unless you have the visual, because we are doing visuals in Figma, not in Canva. A real designer in there designing the incremental level details of the visual to really make it stand out. So it's like, that's the part. And I'm seeing, we have only been publishing together a little while, but I'm seeing a big uptick in like people can notice these small details of like really like hand done quality things that AI is just not gonna, there's no reason for AI business, like AI startups, to like go to that level of detail. Maybe they could, but it's not going to move the needle in terms of revenue. They're just going to get to 80% and then they're going to move to the next thing. So it's like, okay, the video, the details in the video, to know that it's a real person and the exceptional quality, or the graphic, to know that actually a human being with real skills went in and did that. And you can't automate that.
I agree with you that, the human designer can do an absolute magic versus even most of the AI generated visuals I've seen so far. I mean, although AI can generate really amazing things, but I think you can just spend hours and hours iterating and iterating and iterating, coming up with some interesting ideas in the visuals, but still the execution is much better from the point of view of a human. I mean, that's just me. But my question to you on the perspective, but do you think it's just time? So we need to wait until it becomes so more usable, a lot more usable, or will AI generated content become a commodity and human generated content become something that people will really consume properly?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like that, because there's no way around. Like businesses are like, I work with some people, I don't want to use AI, AI marketing is going to be generic. It's just not going to work, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, first thought on that is it's probably not being executed well. Second thought on that is, there's no option. We have no options. So because the speed of business, so AI, if you want to stay relevant, not if you want to stay, if you want to stay in business, you have to operate at the speed that the competitors are operating, which means you've got to use every tool at your disposal at this point. And so if you're not using AI, you're not going to be able to, you're going to get washed out of the market. That said, it needs to be with great care. So we we use AI images and we're going to stop using the AI images, I think, or maybe use a different generator. But then an AI image that's actually designed with a designer going in and actually doing parts of the image. So it's like, just like there's slop. And AI does a great job of producing slop. And so you can make the slop like really, really good, but like in the end it's slop. So it's like, how do we like make this next level, pass on the content, pass on the return, so that the consumers are actually getting experience that's improved and not just more efficient for the business.
I understand. What is an overhyped or the most popular AI claim in marketing that you would push back? And I would definitely ask you to buy a related claim, but I mean, overall, let's speak overall. I mean, because you work with different customers based everywhere else. So what would be that AI claim that you would push back and you would say, no, this is not true, or this is not to the extent it is mentioned?
I am not. Well, there's just a lot of people that are selling like get rich from ChatGPT overnight sort of thing, and that is not something that I want to associate with, because it's like get rich quick scheme. So okay, maybe ChatGPT is powerful, but everyone has it, and it's probably so the get rich quick schemes, I think, is something that I just stay away from. And then in terms of maybe, yeah, so I don't know if there actually is do you have an example? Like, because, okay, more content is definitely not better. Because if it's more content that isn't resonating, then it's just going to get you so that no one's listening anymore.
Something like, for example, I always want to ask, like, for example, AI will replace most of the marketing and content jobs. How do you evaluate that claim?
Well, personally, I do not worry about it, because you have to have subject matter expertise, just like everything else. So yeah, your execution, maybe it's going to take away the demand. It's going to decrease the demand. You need less humans. You need less humans with more skill. So not just human in the loop. You need expert in the loop. You need someone like, okay, they need to be using AI to get better results, but they also really need to know, well, they need to know what better results are and how to get them using AI and using humans on the team. So like it's not going to get to the, I mean, it could, but there was something that happened. I think I used deep research or something for doing for doing market research for a product I'm developing. And I put in a prompt, and deep research like misevaluated the prompt. And it seemed like the results would be very relevant and like you could use them and here's a plan of action and what you should do. But it was a total
That's
like red
right.
herring. It was like not even at all what I needed. And like you have to know that it's leading you the wrong direction and what the outcomes are going to be from that. And like if you don't have expertise, it's going to be catastrophic. So yeah, I'm not worried about it. The only thing I would say is that eventually there's not going to be enough demand
Mm-hmm.
to support. So we have to figure out about what people do, what other jobs people can do, because there's just not going to be as many humans needed anymore.
Yeah. And what other jobs can people do you think?
Well, I know what I would do if because I kind of like worried about this for a while. So in
Mm-hmm.
this exact same scenario of just not enough demand, everyone being laid off, and then the whole market, I work overseas, so like the market's saturated and everyone's blah blah blah. Well, I would personally start an experience business and make a retreat business. So I think like people are going to become entrepreneurs. They're going to get creative and figure out ways to make money locally in their own environment. Or there's going to be new jobs. Like in America, they just announced they need 600,000 like welders for people for Department of Defense. So there's always going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to go more towards the wash out the blue collar work because they're making a lot of money now. Even I was telling my daughter, I don't know that you need to go to college. She like dead set on college. She's 9, and I'm like, I don't even know what jobs there's gonna be, and like we're gonna like we're setting her up for college, but I just thought like maybe just do something with your hands. I mean, you'd make more money and there'd be more demand.
I was actually thinking about the same, that the physical skills, something that you can do in the physical world, will probably differentiate one person from another, whether you have that skill or not, you know. I mean, something that would allow you to actually generate some revenue on the ground around you. And you're right about the kids. We don't know, right? We don't know whether we should set up our kids for college nowadays.
Yeah, not at all. And I think one of the biggest things is like knowing how to do business. So like for me, even though I'm an engineer and I like stability and I'm very conservative, I like to have much more than I need so I can feel safe. That said, if the crap hit the fan, I'm an entrepreneur, so I will figure. I get these ideas. I will figure something out, a way to make money. So I think that's what happens in times of collapse. Is there's people. My husband told me about when he lived in Siberia in the collapse of the Soviet Union. There were no jobs, and his family is very smart, rocket scientists. They were just doing custodial work because they were not this. But then there was other people that came up with like any flavor of scheme. They figured out ways to start a business to make money. And personally, that's the way I would figure something out. And I think it's a good skill to have.
I get it. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you like a quick lightning round of questions just to wrap it up. So, one AI tactic you'd stop tomorrow, and one AI tactic you'd start tomorrow. I wanted to say in Dubai, but whatever. I mean, let's do overall.
Well, can we talk about Dubai? What are some tactics that are being used there?
Well, I think most of the businesses are using automated content flows, but the very very simple functions that are being automated, like ChatGPT for, let's say, writing a copy. I think that's where we are. But we talk a lot about AI, and I know there are lots of conversations about adoption of AI also on the corporate levels.
Okay. Okay. Well, one thing I think that would be amazing if people would stop doing is like just publishing like AI slop that you can obviously tell is from AI and has all the emojis in it and the M dashes, and it's not this, it's this, and it's just like mind numbing. Um, Although I do, as someone who uses AI in marketing, it is kind of like it's hard to tell. Like it's hard to differentiate. There's the obvious signals, and then there's the like, but at least clean it up. So
Yeah.
please clean it up. And then the other thing is what to do more of. More like, oh yeah, this one's a good one. What I did is I trained a GPT on like half of one of my books that I wrote 5 years ago. And then I gave it some rules like no M dashes. And then I put the content in there that I wanted to write, and it rewrites it in my voice. And it's actually really, really good because it's trained on like 20,000 words that I actually
Mhm.
hand wrote. And that helps a lot. So, like using a brand voice optimizer, even a GPT to really lock that in. So, for clients, I actually do that as a layer at the content in the content workflow. So in the beginning and in the end to check for conformity with the brand voice. But that's really nice. I think for users and for consumers and for the person who's using the AI to generate.
That works. So, what is the first role you'd hire to make AI useful in a small to medium business?
Is there even a role? Like I guess they have AI consultants and AI. I'm not
Anything that comes to your mind. I mean, you mentioned something interesting before that, for example, you would hire somebody in a marketing department who would be, daily playing around some different functions and developing some agents, for example.
Yeah, there's not a name for that. So I hear them throwing around the term growth engineer in marketing
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
GTM engineer. And actually those are satisfying the outbound marketing function. So it's not even what I do, but they do have the AI layer. You need to be able to build these AI systems. But honestly, I think like there's not a role, there's not a term for this yet. And it's something that almost is implicit. I think that if you had to make a hiring criteria for anyone and everyone, it's that they have, I would rank them as like A, B, and C with respect to AI skills, and like only hire people that qualify, and then maybe take the A players and have them actually building strategies and overseeing the execution.
Understand. And what is one metric business leaders should track weekly or monthly when it comes to AI usage or adoption? Yeah. I mean, it's all about AI. I really, really wanted to dive into that topic. So, what is that one metric that you would track on a regular basis, let's say, if you were a small to medium business?
Yeah, I think that it's really tough to put a top level metric because you're using AI across so many different functions and level of the business. Of course, revenue and retention are both North Star metrics you need to be looking at, profits. But if you just want like an easy win here, quick win. So I've been doing a lot of thinking on this because of this product that I'm building. So like a quick win would be AI search results. How often, how many times what's your volume of getting of traffic coming from AI search, and also what is the number of leads, the percentage of conversions to leads, and sales if possible, if you could attribute even sales. Like e-commerce brands can attribute sales, and for sales-led businesses, just like the lead volume, I think would be a top level metric, that it is marketing, but it's AI, but it's infecting the entire business as a whole.
I understand. Thank you for that input too. And my last question would be: what are the tools that you are using currently in what you're doing, and do you prefer the tools that are created specifically for your business, or are you a fan of the ones that exist? Something like you mentioned here, ChatGPT, Claude. I mean, so what are your preferences? Or would you create something totally for yourself only?
Yeah, I have a system that I created for myself. So it uses Airtable, which is the context for the brand and positioning strategy and the case studies. And then it uses Claude and MCP through Claude, and NAN is an MCP server. And so I'm using a lot of Claude, ChatGPT, NAN, and Airtable. And then I do have some tools that I like to use that are a lot of tools I use that are just built. I don't need to go build from scratch things that already exist. So just like getting, call transcripts, voice of customer for voice, call transcripts. And there's just so many different AI tools out there that are useful. So I'm using AI all day, every day, basically.
Yeah. That's how we have to adopt it, right? No, it's thank you so much, Lilian. I think it's been quite comprehensive, and I understand that AI conversation is still something that is hard to claim that this is, I know everything, right? It's just something that is hard to. It's all about how people are getting involved, right, with each and every project. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Just get in there and do some things, and then some more. And as you do more things, you learn more. And surprisingly, there's not a lot of people yet that are doing that. So eventually, it's like you actually become an expert on this thing and have a unfair advantage. This is an early mover market, so it's really great, honestly, to get in and take action now, because 5 years from now, everyone will have caught up. So it's time to, if you're going to want to build an empire, or for your career, or for your business, this is the time to do it.
That's right. So it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, and I'm staying in touch because we're connected on Instagram, we're connected on LinkedIn. I'm happy we recorded this episode, and I'm hoping this conversation is going to be useful for your audience, for my audience as well. I remember our previous episode, as much as it was a virtual episode, which is not a typical for my podcast, but it got, a lot of organic views from everywhere. So it's obviously searchable, very much searchable in terms of the, magic words that you're using probably, or your team has been optimizing it with.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Lara. And it was nice connecting with you again. And I'm grateful for you. I appreciate you and your audience.
Thank you so much. Keeping in touch, Lilian. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.